Welcome to GenAI Level Up, the podcast where we decode the future of artificial intelligence one breakthrough at a time.
Whether you're just starting your AI journey or you're a seasoned expert, you've come to the right place. Our mission is to make the complex world of generative AI accessible to everyone, everywhere.
In each episode, we dive deep into the foundational concepts, the latest research, and the transformative applications that are shaping our world. It's time to get smarter, faster. Let's level up together.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're jumping straight into the deep end today.
We really are.
We're looking at a shift in AI that is, well, it's pretty much closing the chapter on the first era of generative AI.
Yeah.
For the last 3 years, really since ChatGPT just exploded onto the scene, the whole obsession has been prompt engineering.
Oh, absolutely. It was the defining skill.
We have all done it.
Yeah.
You sit there, you're tweaking adjectives, adding think step by step.
You're trying to find the magic words to hack the chatbot into giving you a coherent answer.
Exactly. But if you look at the research stack we have today, we're pulling from NeuroPS 2025, the latest ICLR papers, the 2026 AI papers, report that era.
It's officially over.
That is the headline. Prompt engineering is dead. Long live context engineering.
That's it.
So our mission today is to unpack what that actually means. We're going to look at the physics of how these models reason, which is surprisingly geometric.
Right. And a new architecture called GraphRAG, and then some really high-stakes applications.
In law and medicine, where this stuff is already live. But let's start with the definition. If prompt engineering is asking the right question, what on earth is context engineering?
So the best analogy I found in these reports is culinary.
Okay.
Prompt engineering was about cooking the meal, stirring the pot, adding salt, managing the heat.
Right.
Context engineering, that's about stocking the pantry.
Okay, so it's upstream of the cooking.
Way upstream. It's about the system architecture. It's the design of the cognitive environment that the AI lives in for that one specific interaction. Because you have to remember this foundational constraint that we all kind of forget.
Which is?
An AI's reasoning is strictly bounded by what is in its context window at the moment of inference.
So if the pantry is empty or it's filled with junk?
Or just irrelevant noise. Yeah, it doesn't matter how amazing the AI chef is, you're going to get a bad meal.
So we're moving from just throwing a text query at a chatbot to actually architecting the world it pulls information from.
Precisely. We are moving from static data warehouses to dynamic reasoning environments.
Okay, let's dig into the why of this. There's a paper here from ICLR 2025, In Context Learning of Representations.
Oh, the Parkinol paper, yeah.
It talks about energy minimization.
Yeah.
Now, when I hear that, I think of physics. I think of a ball rolling down a hill. What does that have to do with an LLM?
This is where it gets absolutely fascinating. This paper challenges the idea that LLMs just read text linearly, left to right.
Like a glorified autocomplete.
Exactly. They found that when you provide context specifically, context that's structured as a graph, the model essentially reorganizes its internal mental map.
Its mental map. That sounds a little sci-fi.
Well, think of the model's latent space, this huge multi-dimensional space where it stores concepts.
What?
The researchers measured something called Dirichlet energy.
You're going to have to define that one for us.
So in this context, think of it as the cognitive effort the model needs to smooth out the differences between related data points.
I connect the dots.
To connect the dots, yeah. If the context you feed it is just a messy dump of text, paragraphs pasted from Wikipedia, random emails.
The energy is high, the terrain is rough.
The terrain is rough. The AI has to expend a massive amount of computation just to figure out that concept A is related to concept B.
It's bushwhacking.
It is bushwhacking.
Yeah, see.
Through a dense forest with a machete. But if you structure that context as a graph before you feed it in, if you explicitly link A to B in the input,
that energy barrier just drops.
It drops significantly. You are essentially paving the road. Context engineering is just the act of clearing that path so the model can devote its compute to reasoning, not just navigation.
So by structuring the input, we are lowering the friction of thought.
Exactly. And this leads to a really crucial distinction that's in almost all these papers.
Okay.
The difference between a knowledge graph and a context graph.
I admit, I used to use those terms interchangeably. A graph is a graph, right? Circles and lines.
Not anymore. Not in 2026. Think of a knowledge graph or a KG as the warehouse.
Okay. The warehouse.
It's global. It contains everything. Wikidata, your entire corporate database, every customer record. It's static, it's rigid. It is the source of truth.
But you can't shove a whole warehouse into a prompt.
Right. It's too big, and crucially, it's way too noisy. And that's where the context graph comes in. The context graph is the workspace.
The workspace.
It's dynamic, it's transient, and it's built specifically for one single query.
So if the knowledge graph is the warehouse, the context graph is the shopping cart you fill with just the ingredients for tonight's dinner.
That is it. It is the source of relevance. It involves filtration, enrichment. You aren't just retrieving data. You are engineering a mini-world for that moment. And once the query is answered, that graph might just disappear.
Okay, that's the theory. Build these little bespoke graphs to lower the energy barrier, but how?
Right. How do we actually do it?
This brings us to the GraphRAG ecosystem.
GraphRAG, Graph Retrieval Augmented Generation.
Right. In 2024, our RAG was just fetching text chunks based on keywords. Felt like a glorified search bar.
It kind of was.
But this new stack seems much more specialized. I'm seeing 3 distinct architectures here. GraphR1, LogicRAG, and SubGraphRAG. Let's break these down.
They do serve very different purposes. Let's start with GraphR1. This is the one I call the Agentic Explorer.
The Explorer, I like that.
The big innovation here is the use of hypergraphs.
Explain that. Because a normal graph is just node A connected to node B.
Right.
Simple, Paris connects to France.
Simple, yeah, but totally unrealistic. Real life is rarely binary like that. Think about a business contract.
Okay.
It involves a buyer, a seller, a date, and a price. That's 4 different things all connected in one single relationship.
And if you break that into little pairs, buyer to seller, seller to price, you lose the context that it's all part of the same deal.
You lose the event. A hypergraph connects all of them with a single hyperedge. It just captures that real-world complexity better.
So what does GraphR1 do with it?
It uses reinforcement learning to navigate these webs. So it's not just a search engine looking for keywords. It's an agent. It travels along the hypergraph. It digs for evidence. It reflects on what it found. And then it decides, do I need to dig deeper?
So it has a feedback loop. It's thinking about its own search process.
Yes. It's slower, for sure, but much deeper. It simulates a human researcher going down rabbit holes.
Okay, that sounds great for exploration. But then there's this other one, LogicRAG. This one claims you don't even need a pre-built graph.
Yeah, that seems contradictory, right?
It does. How can you have GraphRAG without a graph?
This is the planner architecture.
Yeah.
The philosophy of LogicRAG is just in time. So imagine you ask a really complex question like, compare the GDP growth of France and Germany during the tenure of their current leaders.
Ugh, that's a nightmare question for a standard bot.
It's a total nightmare.
It has to find leaders, find start dates, find GDP for those specific years.
Right. So LogicRAG doesn't look at a massive world graph. Instead, it builds a logical dependency graph of your question. It breaks it down.
Okay.
Subproblem A, find leader of France. Subproblem B, find tenure. Subproblem C, get GDP data.
It creates a project plan.
It creates a cyclic graph of dependencies. It says, I cannot solve C until I solve A. And here's the kicker. The feature that solves one of the biggest problems in AI.
What's that?
Context pruning.
Pruning, like cutting branches off a tree.
Yes. As it solves each step. So once it knows the leader of France is Macron, it saves that fact, and then it deletes all the search results, the web pages, all the noise it used to find it.
Oh, that is incredibly smart. Because usually the context window just fills up with, the report calls it debris.
Exactly. By the time a standard agent gets to the final comparison, its memory is full of trash. LogicRAG keeps the signal-to-noise ratio high. The context window is a workspace, not a log file.
Okay, so GraphR1 is the explorer, LogicRAG is the planner. That leaves SubGraphRAG. The name implies it's smaller.
It's the efficiency delay. It's the sprinter.
It's Sprinter, okay.
Yeah. One of the problems with graphs, especially these hypergraphs, is that they are computationally heavy. They take time and money to traverse.
Right.
So SubGraphRAG asks, do we really need a massive brain to score every single connection?
And the answer is no.
The answer is no. They use a really lightweight neural net, a simple MLP, to score relevance very quickly. But they use a trick.
A trick.
It's called directional distance encoding.
That sounds like serious tech jargon. In plain English.
Think of it as giving a scout a topographic map.
Okay.
A simple model doesn't usually understand the shape or distance in a graph. This encoding technique translates the graph's structure, how far A is from B and in what direction, into a format the simple model can understand.
So a cheap, fast model can see the shape of the data without doing the heavy lifting.
You get graph-level intelligence at a fraction of the cost.
So we have the explorer, the planner, and the sprinter. It's amazing how specialized this is getting. It's not one size fits all anymore.
No, it's about choosing the right tool for the job.
Speaking of jobs, let's ground this. We've talked about stocking the pantry, but who's eating the food? The reports highlight 2 domains where the AI making things up hallucination is
Completely unacceptable. These are the zero-error domains.
law and medicine. Let's start with law.
Yeah.
There's a system here called graph compliance. As someone who finds GDPR regulations absolutely terrifying, I'm interested.
You and every company in Europe, the problem with regulations like that is they're just these dense webs of rules and exceptions.
Right.
A standard AI might find Article 6, which says you can process data, but it might miss Article 9, which says, whoa, wait, not if it's health data.
And an answer that's 90% right in law is 100% malpractice.
Exactly. So graph compliance solves this with a dual graph architecture. Imagine 2 graphs side by side.
Okay.
Graph A is the policy graph. That's the law. It's static.
Okay.
Graph B is the context graph. That's the facts of the specific event you're auditing.
So the law on one side, what actually happened on the other?
And in the middle, they have a compliance gate. This is the innovation. It aligns the nodes. It maps the event to the specific scope of the law. If an event doesn't fall into the scope, it literally prunes that part of the law from the context.
So the AI is presented with a strictly curated context, only the relevant facts and only the laws that apply.
It's like a lawyer putting blinders on the jury, so they only see the evidence that actually matters for this one specific charge. It reduces false positives significantly.
That's incredible. Now let's look at medicine. CKP, Clinical Knowledge Enhanced Prompt Engineering. This one deals with heart diagnostics.
This is so fascinating because it bridges the gap between raw data and language.
What do you mean?
Well, an ECG, that spiky line of your heartbeat, it's just a signal. A normal LLM can't see it.
Right, it reads text.
It can read a textbook about heart attacks,
Yeah.
but it can't look at the squiggly line and say that is a heart attack.
So you'd normally need a specialized vision model.
Right. But CPay uses context engineering to translate. First, it matches the raw signal to a clinical database to find similar cases. Then, and this is the cool part, it retrieves the expert text descriptions of those cases.
So it finds a previous case that looks like mine, reads the doctor's notes, and uses that.
Effectively, yeah. It generates a detailed prompt that describes the waveform in medical language like irregular RR intervals or absence of P waves.
It translates the signal into a semantic description the LLM can understand.
It's using the context graph as a translator, a semantic decoder. And the result is that zero-shot classification identifying the disease without specific training improves massively.
It's not just guessing, it's being told what the signal means in medical terms before it even starts to reason.
Exactly.
This feels like we're finally building a bridge between just knowing facts and actually applying wisdom. But
Yeah.
I want to pull back a bit. We've been very optimistic.
The reality check.
The reality check, yeah. There's a benchmark, GraphRAG bench, from NeurIPS 2025. And it says graphs are not a magic bullet.
No. And this is really important for anyone listening who's thinking about building one of these systems. There is no free lunch.
Okay.
The benchmark found that for simple queries like, what is the capital of France, GraphRAG is actually worse than the old methods.
Worse how? Slower, less accurate.
Both. It's 13.4% less accurate and 2.3 times slower.
That's a huge hit. Why does it fail on the easy stuff?
Because you don't need a graph traversal to look up a simple fact. A vector search just grabs Paris. A graph system might go, France is a member of the EU, which has a capital.
Right.
Brussels. Right, no, France.
Yeah.
Capital. Paris.
It overthinks it. It gets lost in the weeds.
And it completely over-engineers the solution. Graphs shine in that multi-hop reasoning, connecting things that are far apart. But for simple lookups, they're just overkill.
So if you're building a system, you need a router. Simple question. Vector search. Complex question. GraphRAG.
Do not use a tank to go to the grocery store. Exactly.
There's one other threat mentioned. Context rat. We touched on this with LogicRAG's pruning, but explain this as a broader issue.
So as an AI agent works on a problem, the context window just fills up. It fills with old states, resolved subproblems, debris. If you don't clean it up, the signal-to-noise ratio plummets.
The pantry gets messy.
The pantry gets filled with rotten food. The AI starts hallucinating because it's being distracted by its own previous thoughts.
It's like trying to solve a math problem on a whiteboard that hasn't been erased in a week.
That is the perfect image. And that's why context pruning isn't just a feature of LogicRAG anymore. It's becoming a vital part of all context engineering. You have to actively delete information.
The context window is a workspace, not a storage unit.
That's it.
So bring this all together. We've moved from prompting to engineering. We've gone from data warehouses to dynamic workspaces. Where is this all heading? The report mentions the large context model, LCM.
That's the horizon. Right now, context is temporary, right? You close the chat, it's gone.
Yeah.
We're moving towards systems where context becomes a persistent, structured memory, a digital hippocampus, if you will.
So the AI remembers not just facts, but the structure of how those facts connect long term.
Yes. And the big bonus here is interpretability. With black box deep learning, you get an answer, but you don't know why. With GraphRAG, you can audit the path. You can see the DAG. You can say, it concluded C because it found A and B.
That provenance tracking seems essential if we're ever going to trust these things.
With our legal or medical lives, absolutely. We're moving from the AI said so to here is the evidence chain.
So for everyone listening, whether you're a developer, a business leader, or you're just curious about where this is all going, the takeaway is pretty clear.
Stop obsessing over the perfect prompt.
Stop trying to wordsmith your way to intelligence. Start thinking about the architecture.
The future belongs not to the best writer, but to the best architect, the context engineer who can build the most elegant, organized world for the AI to inhabit.
The structural elegance of context is now the primary driver of intelligence. That is a powerful thought to leave us on. Thank you for walking us through all this.
My pleasure. It was fun.
And thank you all for listening to the deep dive. As always, we'll have links to the papers in the show notes, GraphR1, LogicRAG, all of them. We will see you next time.
And that brings us to the end of another deep dive into the world of generative AI.
Thank you for tuning in to GenAI Level Up. If you found this episode valuable, please consider subscribing and leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform. It helps us reach more curious minds like yours.
Join us next time as we continue to explore the cutting edge of artificial intelligence. Until then, keep learning, stay curious, and continue to level up.